We are called to be in the world, but not of it. But in a world that constantly pulls at our emotions, desires, and vices, what does this look like practically? How do we remain physically present in the world without being consumed by it? All this and more, a new episode of the podcast starts now. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the New Mercies IC podcast, where we honor God in the daily living. I'm your host, Rochelle Shayola, and if you're new here, hey, I'm so glad that you guys decided to join us, and feel free to catch up on some old episodes, grab yourself some hot chocolate, and stay a while. Take your jacket off and hope you feel right at home. If you're new here, if you're a seasoned listener, thank you so much for listening. In this day and age of podcasting, there are so many podcasts out there, so I do not take it for granted that you are giving me a listen this week. I'm really grateful, and I thank you so much. Hey, y'all. You see how I did hot chocolate this week? I told you I'm going to keep it going. I'm going to try with the drinks. But I'm going to be honest with y'all, I don't know how long I can go. I feel like I'm all out of beverages from the mental. So if in the next couple of podcasts you don't hear a beverage, I don't want to hear it. Just go with it. We're here. We locked in. We loaded. But hey, guys, I hope that your week was an amazing one. I hope it was full, or even if it was just chill, I hope that it was everything that you desired. Let's address the elephant in the room. Mama got a new style, a new hairdo, a new cut, a new color. Had to take the braids out, baby, and get back to the Bobbiana. I feel like the bob is my signature. And, some people feel like it looks a little mature, but baby, this is where I feel my best. So, yeah, Mama's back. But I hope you guys have been well. In addition to new hairdos, what else happened for me this week? From a real estate standpoint, we had a showcase. There's an annual showcase that the company I work for, brokerage I work for, does, where they have this nice home in Buckhead. If you're in the Atlanta area, you know where Buckhead is. It's like a pretty affluent area. And they decorate it. These designers come in and they have different rooms to decorate. And you just get to see all the designs. Usually when designers decorate a home, there's lots of textures, lots of prints, lots of designs. It's not just like the minimalistic thing that everybody does on Instagram. And I appreciate that. I love that so much. And so I got to do that. What else can I think of? Hillary's birthday is coming up. And I am planning. Her birthday is in June, but I'm planning. It's her 5th birthday. So I'm just like, it's one of those years where it's just like, okay, this is a big year. So we're trying to just do a little something. And so, trying to get the planning going on that. And also, child, 2 days ago, I just randomly fell into this challenge with my friends of only eating raw veggies and fruits. And baby, when I tell you, I'm in the challenge, but already failed. I was like, okay, I'm going to do a veggie sandwich that has bread. But look, I'm not doing meat. I haven't done meat. But they're like, Rochelle, we're actually juicing. And I'm just like, okay. But that's what I had going on. I hope that you've had something similar in your life that has been fun this week, or maybe stressful, like this raw and fruit veggie thing that I convinced myself to do. Well, all right, guys, before we get into the things, let's get some housekeeping going. Like, subscribe, and share this podcast if it blesses you. This is how the podcast grows, and this is how good people hear good things. All right, y'all. So today we are talking about being in the world and not of the world. And, this is something that I feel is the daily journey of a Christian. Right? I often say, a lot of times when we look at our lives and we look at our relationship with God, we look at it in a very macro, big picture kind of way. But when it comes to sanctification, we have to look at it from a day-to-day standpoint. Again, New Mercies IC, morning by morning, the mundane, the everyday, the daily living, right? And so on one hand, we know that our home isn't here, right? We know that when we die or when Jesus comes back, we not only go to heaven, but we know that we have to give an account of everything that happened while we were here, right? So we know that it's important that our life is one that does include wisdom and does include reverence to the God that we say that we serve, right? Like when people say like, only God can judge me, it's like, and he will, Buki. And he will. It's like, that's not a flex, baby. Save yourself. Okay? Take heed and save yourself because he will judge you, Buki. He actually is going to. Thank you very much. Right? But yes, we need to be mindful, right? But on the other hand, being so heavenly bound that you are of no earthly good isn't good either, right? Like God created us to enjoy his creations, obviously with the proper boundaries in place, right? And we've all met a self-righteous person that makes you want to run away from God more than you want to run to him, even if you're a Christian already. You're like, I'm already a Christian, but you make me want to feel shame, or you make me feel like you make me question my assurance of my faith, right? And so that's not necessarily good either. It's like, the two extremes, and we want to make sure we're not doing either or, right? And so, we don't want to be people that follow rules versus take instructions from a father that does have wrath but also has love, right? So we want to be mindful of that. Now, I am someone who really struggles with this idea of being in the world and not of it. And when I say really struggles, like, I think really struggle like sounds really bad. I really don't. And it's not necessarily from the standpoint of like following what God says, but what I mean is like feeling good about it, right? Like feeling good about standing 10 toes in front of other people that either don't have the same convictions or opinions, even, or even worse, like a professing Christian that doesn't follow anything that they say they do. So everything you do looks like extra when they're actually just witnessing a true Christian, right? So yeah, I don't mean it like I don't struggle with what God tells me to do, but I struggle with feeling firm in my choice sometimes when I'm around other people. The fear of man, right? There's an older lady that I have been discipled by in church, and she always talks about this, like the fear of man. You cannot be you cannot be afraid of man. And although that's such like so cliche, it's such a quick phrase that yeah, I shouldn't be afraid of man. But when you're in the mix and you're in front of people, sometimes you can feel like, a little like what you're doing is right, and that you love the Lord and you're firm in this, but you also feel like, man, I want to be liked, right? So sometimes I do struggle with that. And, I grew up Jamaican. And for those of you that don't know, a little history lesson, Jamaica was colonized by the British. So we are very English, very royal family-ish in the way that we do things. And even though things like the dance hall community or Bob Marley, has kind of been the most mainstream things about us, Jamaica is a really conservative Christian island. Like, I remember this one time, y'all, I was at the airport in Jamaica and I had a romper on. Those y'all know, it's a jumpsuit, but not pants, it's shorts. So I had a romper on. Mind you, I've landed in Jamaica. It's an island. It's hot over here. And I was in customs, and a lady pulled me to the side and she was like, "We don't wear that here." And I'm a Jamaican. Like, I'm not even an American. Like, I'm not an American coming here. Well, technically I am. I wasn't born in Jamaica. But it's like, my family's here, So, but that's how conservative it can be over there. And before I moved to Georgia, when I was in New York, I went to a Jamaican church. And I grew up in a denim skirt to your ankles. Church ends whenever we feel like it. Crusade revival time type of church. Okay? And while there are a lot of things in that I have unlearned as I've grown older, there's a lot of tradition in there. There's a lot of things there in there that are traditional, not necessarily biblical. And I've unlearned those things. There's still a lot of that ingrained in me that I also find valuable, and it impacts who I am today. I also shared with you guys that I was on the praise team. I was in the choir. My mom was on the praise team in New York. Right now, currently at her current church, she's on the prayer team as an intercessor. Like, it gets deep, right? And so those things have always been a part of me and who I am. So on one hand, I want to have fun. I want to enjoy people, whether they're a believer or not. I love a kiki, love a cackle, love a good time. I'm very adventurous. I was actually just talking to my husband about this yesterday. Like, where he's more homebody, I want to experience life and do things. So I like to get out. I like to have fun. I like to cackle. I like to talk, all the things, right? So on one hand, you want to enjoy stuff, but on the other hand, sometimes when you're around people, the things that they partake in sometimes go too far than you want to go or you can go as a Christian, right? And sometimes it's big things. A lot of times when we talk about, going too far, we think of egregious sins, like things that can really make you feel like you've taken 5 steps back in regards to your faith. But sometimes it's very simple things. Most times it's very simple things, right? Sometimes it's small things like gossip. You would not believe how many people think that gossip is just a natural thing that people do, especially women. Like, gossip is just a natural thing that we do. We just get on the phone and we just vent, and they'll even call it venting. And it's like, no, you're actually just speaking unkindly about this person, and there's no God in that. There's a book, if you guys get the chance to read it, called Respectable Sins. And it talks about that, like some sins that we kind of feel like are respectable, like not that bad. The smaller sins that God still feels are great offenses to him, but because we as society has kind of adopted them as just regular normal things that people do, we look at them as more respectable, but they are sins nonetheless, right? And so, yeah, you may be in a situation where when you get around people, they take it too far. Or you might have the opposite thing that occurs where people might have a preconceived notion of you before you even walk in the door, before they even have a conversation with you. I remember I was with a group of girls and, we were just having a conversation, and I think I said something and the girl was like, come on, First Lady. Or I had another person come up to me, and I'm not even talking about Christ. It's just my appearance, my demeanor. And they're like, you look like you grew up in church. And it's like, you know what they're trying to say? And you know what's being said in jest? It's a little bit of joking, a little bit of shade, a little bit of you look different than the rest of us, a little bit of you don't seem relatable, or a bunch of preconceived notions that you think just because you walk with a certain light, the light of the Lord, right? And what this would do for me in the past, I feel like I've gotten a lot better at it, is that it would make me end up towing the line. Like, I would toe the line to be more relatable. Oh, I want you to like me. Like, I'm not judging you. Like, can't you see? Can't you see? I'm a good person. Like, I love the Lord, but I love you too. Like, we can hang. We can get key. Your secret safe with me, right? And you end up being less righteous in the process. I've done that so many times. When I was doing dating content, I had a lot of people that loved me, loved my content. But I also had a lot of people that hated me just because I was challenging their life and their activities based on dating, right? People would think that, oh, like, I don't think women have any value, or like, or just, I think that all these things. And it's just like, who thinks that, right? But it's just a reflection of them feeling uneasy because of some of the things that I'm saying. If you are fornicating and I'm talking about abstinence, you're probably not going to like me, or you're probably going to think that I feel a certain way when I don't. And again, it depends on the lens that you're looking in. And here's the thing. We're going through our lives, we're walking with the Lord, and we have to do life with other people in the meantime. We can't just be someone who shuns ourselves off to people. We can't just never talk to non-believers. We can't just never, exist in society. We can't quarantine ourselves. But, baby, let me hold your hand when I tell you this. You're not called to everything. You're not called to everyone. Some things you can't do. Sometimes you can't hang. Yes, I look different. Yes, I look a little awkward and not relatable because I decided to serve the Lord. And maybe the way that you've been serving it has been more kind of just like not as committed, more chill, more kind of, Build-A-Bear Christianity like we talked about, where you pick and choose what you want to do and what you want to believe and what's deep for you and what's not. But there should be a difference in your life when you decide to be a Christian. There is a cost to following God. Sometimes that cost is looking a little different. Sometimes that cost is being ostracized. Sometimes that cost is people feeling like you're not relatable. You don't want to do all the things that we do. You're right. I don't. They're right. You shouldn't. Right? You can't do everything. And while we do have Christian freedoms that God has given us to enjoy, sometimes you have to get off of the bus a couple stops earlier in order to remain in His will. And I have tried to fight that sometimes. I've told the line just enough. And I failed many times until I'm like, okay, I get it right. I'm committed to you, Lord. And I also know the limit. And now I'm in a place where I can exist in a group of non-believers and pretty much and have a lot of fun too. But there's just certain things that I won't do. And sometimes they can't even tell that I'm enacting my Christian beliefs. They don't really realize why I'm using restraint. They just see that it's being done. Okay? So it is what it is. There is a cost to following God. And sometimes that means that you can't do everything. You can't hang everywhere. So now let's bring some biblical context to this. I want to talk about Jesus when He was getting ready to be crucified, the events leading up to that. And so, during one of Jesus' trials, when He's in front of Pontius Pilate, basically Pontius Pilate, the Jews brought Jesus to him, and he is trying to confirm the charges that have been put on Jesus. And he's actually a little bit trying to get Jesus to incriminate himself, right? And so they have a conversation. And Pilate is like, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And Jesus is like, "Is that your idea, or is that what people said to you?" And then Pilate responds, "Am I a Jew? It's your people are the one who brought you to me. So cut to chase. What did you do?" Sidebar, y'all. I'm laughing because it's like the sarcasm here is crazy, diabolical, if you will. I know that people don't like to talk about color when it comes to Jesus, but baby, that's a black king right there. Listen, I just feel. Moving on. Moving on. We could talk about that another time. Moving on. And so Jesus responds and He says, "My kingdom is not of this world. If it was, my servants would be getting me out of this debacle that I'm in with you right now." Right? And so when Pilate is asking this to Jesus, obviously he's thinking of King of the Jews as like a political standpoint, right? And if you notice, when Jesus answers him, Jesus does not deny that he is king. He says, my kingdom is not here, right? And so I want you to think of what Jesus says when he says, if I was king of this place, I would have my servants unhanding me and getting me out of this place that I'm in with you right now, standing in front of you, trying to explain myself and being on trial for and being asked to be put to death, right? Think about this. Now Jesus is on trial, right? And like I said, they are recommended to death. And unrightfully so. And if anyone was in this position, if you were in a position where you knew that you're not doing anything wrong and people are trying to kill you, murder you, punish you, condemn you, it is natural, right, even to want to relieve yourself of this. It's one thing to relieve yourself of this because you have the power and you can, whether you're right or wrong. But it's another thing to know I'm not doing anything wrong. I should be released from this, right? But that's not what happened. Jesus ultimately said that my time has come. He allowed himself to be captured and ultimately crucified for the glory of God. And this is how I want you to think on earth in your life, right? You're going to be placed in situations, and the good Christ-like thing that you're trying to do is going to be looked at as the wrong thing, or the bad thing, or the judgy thing. For people who can't see clearly, right? And in this moment, I want you to stand firm because just like Jesus said, your kingdom is not here. Your reward is in heaven. Now, let's talk about what this looks like, right? Because a lot of times people think that being a Christian is about taking a megaphone and telling everyone how much you love God. And even though we gonna do that, but a lot of people think that it's just getting on this platform, whether that's social media or, in real life, and just talking about Jesus all the time and telling everybody how much you love him and telling everybody else how much people are doing things wrong. But a lot of the times, and most of the times, the most fulfilling and edifying picture of the Christian life is the one that shows up in the mundane. What do I mean by this? Sometimes being a great Christian just looks like caring enough about your Bible to read it. And we can really stop right there because a lot of people, a lot of us, a lot of Christians are barely making it into heaven if that was the criteria. Thank God it's not. Like you want to seek God, but you got to believe in him. But we struggle with this, right? Sometimes being a good Christian is caring about your Bible enough to read it. Sometimes it's caring more about your local church than Instagram. Sometimes it's being inconvenienced, but going the extra mile anyway for your brother or sister in Christ. Sometimes it's putting your family first over a platform. Sometimes it's forgiving someone that hurt you and reconciling. We talked about that last week. Sometimes it's not responding to something is intentionally being done to you to shade or hurt you. Sometimes it's not matching energy. It's praying instead. And sometimes it's exercising restraint. I can go but so far at this party. I can go but so far at this social. I can be in the mix, but I can go but so far to stay in his will. It's not always this big megaphone. It's not always being on stages and on panels. Sometimes it's just serving your family well. making sure your kids have meals to eat, making sure that when you go to work, you're a hard, diligent worker that isn't slacking off on your phone all day and instead of working good unto the Lord, right? Fervently praying. And those are things that we have to just remember as we do this thing. And so while we're on the topic, let me just say this as well. As you're walking this walk with Christ, you need to be very mindful on deciding who you make mistakes around. Hear me clearly. This is not an announcement for you to just participate in a free-for-all regarding sins and things that you know that the Lord would not be pleased with, right? There should be fruit bared in your life when you make the decision to be a Christian. So hear me clearly, don't take this and run with it the wrong way, right? But I don't like when sin occurs and people act shocked or surprised by it, because it means that we're idolizing something or someone. That's basically what I'm trying to say, right? This isn't leaving room for you to toe the line. This is just leaving room for the inevitable sin that occurs because all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. I hope that you can listen to what I'm saying with a type of spiritual and Christian maturity, right? Being a Christian doesn't make you perfect, right? But certain people are not mature enough to see you walk your faith out in real time. Does that make sense? Yeah, I want to make sure that I'm saying this clearly. Some people understand what I just said, the fact that there's a part of sin that's inevitable and it's a part of the Christian walk and how we do life with the Lord, right? They understand that there's going to be hills and valleys in this thing. And when it occurs, they have grace for you and they also have friendly rebuke, friendly correction, right? They're not going to just they're not going to condemn you. They're going to offer you grace, but they're also not going to enable you. And they're going to offer you friendly correction, right? But to some people, when you make mistakes, you ruin your witness. And some of those people are waiting for you to ruin your witness, with them having a front row seat to watch. Do you get what I'm saying? They are looking to be able to say, see, I knew it wasn't real. She's just like me. She ain't no better than me, right? As opposed to assisting you to get back on track. So this is where wisdom and discernment comes in when you're in the world but not of it. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fall short. But you can't do that in front of everyone. The second thing I want to say is set yourself up for success as a Christian, right? A lot of times we try to stay in things to be present and, see ourselves as cool, the cool Christian, right? And like I said earlier, you're like, hey, I'm cool. I ain't going to judge you. It's nothing. Your secret's safe with me. I've done it. I have a number of times, I have been the Christian that has told the line. I've sat in a room full of people doing hard drugs, and while I didn't do it, I wanted them to feel like, well, I'm not going to do it because of my beliefs in God. I'm not here to judge you. When in reality, I should have never been there. I should have got up and left, right? So I am not saying this as a person who's better than you. I'm saying this as a person who knows where you're at when you're at a party and you want to be cool, but people are doing things that you don't agree with. Okay? But after a certain while, everybody's in the mud and you can't tell who is who. A person walking in, seeing me at that place, probably doesn't know that I'm a Christian. They just didn't see me do the hard drug. And a light bulb should go off there. Stop being around people that need you to be ratchet to be relatable. That's an extreme red flag for me as it pertains to friendship. One thing about me, if I notice that it's my worst parts that make you feel relatable to me, you're not my person. If the only way that you can feel relatable to me is if I am doing degrading things to myself, you're not my person. And I can be cordial with you and show you a Christ-like love, but we will not be connected. And a lot of people do that. And as you are walking as a Christian, you're going to come across people that do that. They're going to say things like, oh, I just don't feel like I can relate to you. But what they're actually saying is you won't get down in the gutter with me. And I'm telling you, you don't need to. Right? So now that we've talked about what this looks like, let's talk about what this does not look like. Right? This does not look like self-righteousness. Let me hold your hand when I also say this. Some of you Christians were salivating at the mouth of using being in the world but not of it as an excuse to put your nose up at the world. Because God forbid you forget where you came from and lack humility while saying that you were trying to be Christ-like. Clock it. In the moments that you have to do life with the world, do it without condemnation, and do it in a way where if months down the line somebody did want to encounter Christ, they would want to discuss it with you. So yeah, this is not an excuse for you to be self-righteous. That's also not okay. Last, this does not look like you not being able to enjoy things. I'm going to do a deeper dive on Christian freedoms in another podcast. But today I will say this. Some of you are using your relationship with God as a reason to lock yourself in a prison on things that he didn't say. Like you're making what you think God's preference is a precept. And you're saying that everybody else should be doing these things when we really got to be careful on what did God say or not, right? Now, different people have different convictions, right? And we have to be able to be careful not to offend or cause people to stumble or be tempted. But Christians can have fun and enjoy things. And I would like to talk more about that. You just need to figure out what the godly parameters of those things are. Being a Christian doesn't mean that you need to dress in a potato sack and only watch VeggieTales. I don't know. We can have a full life as well that's colorful and fun and makes us laugh and have enjoyment. God created a lot of things for us to enjoy. All in all, when we continue to walk with the Lord, as we continue to do this, we need to remember to be heavenly minded. And our kingdom is not here. And we do need to be in the world, but not of it. All right, guys, that wraps up this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please feel free to share this to someone. This is how the podcast grows, and this is how people hear good things. Your new mercies for the day this week is to remember that your reward is in heaven. And as you are going about your life, stand firm in knowing that. Stand firm in your decisions. Stand firm and know that you can feel safe believing in the Lord. You can feel affirmed knowing that this will not turn out to be void. You can be assured knowing that you don't have to grow weary in doing good things, and that the Lord sees. And just as much as we have to give an account for the not so great things that we did while we were on this earth, God also wants you to take inventory and knows that He is taking inventory of all the times that you stood up for Him and, lived your life with Him at the center. All right, guys, I will see you in the next one. Love you, mean it. Now go be blessed. Bye.